Welcome back, Raw Thoughts, to another episode with me, Mackenzie Tiggs. I, like every week, love to just give you guys all a shout out for taking the time and listening to my podcast. It still amazes me that I'm here for another week getting to share these stories with you. Today, I have somebody amazing coming on and talking with us. He is a former Boise State football player. Mm-hmm. He is now highly successful media and entertainment entrepreneur. Today, I have David Paul. He's been featured on NBC, Good Morning America, CBS, as known as the voice of Boise.
Let's go.
And yet, I may be coming up on this, and he'll have a sister, with the voice of Boise, maybe competing a little bit. He has collaborated with Grammy-winning artists, NFL and NBA athletes, top CEOs, and more. David's business, David Mackenzie Enterprise LLC, common name Mackenzie,
yes,
has allowed him to oversee PR and video marketing for top businesses and brand access for the country. He's also the host of #1 social media talk show in Boise. Guests have included Charles Barkley, Dwayne Wade, Grammy-winning rock band Papa Roach,
Love Papa Roach. You gotta love Papa Roach, right?
Also, as I'm reading this, I'm like, you're on my podcast? What? Come on. Are you kidding me? Let's see. We've had, Dallas Cowboy players, governor of the state, Heather Cox of NBC. And we have today,
yes,
ladies and gentlemen, the voice of Boise, David Paul.
Let's do it, man. Thanks for having me, man.
I'm so excited for this.
I'm excited. We're going to drop some raw thoughts.
Yeah. And I just want to, give a little shout out to the people that are afraid to go up to, I'm going to say a star and be like, they get so much anxiety. And I just went up to you and I was like, hey man, I got a podcast. Want to come on? You're like, yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah. And you did at the Road Together. Yeah. Just came up. But and I can't wait to get deeper into that, but I'm the same way. I don't really care who, whatever. It's just dude, let's chop it up. Let's talk shop.
Yeah. So you've done all of these things. Mm-hmm. You were a football player. Mm-hmm. Now you're going and you have your own brand and you have your own name. But who is DMac?
That's, oh man, we're getting deep quick. Well, I think who I am, man, is just, I want to be the best version of myself. I don't have any, mostly I really don't have any fears. My main fear is dude, I just want to be what I envision myself being. And so that's me, man. I'm a servant leader. I'm huge in trying to build others up or push them into who they're supposed to be. I really have an itch when I see somebody and they're gifted, but they're not in where they're supposed to be. I kind of have that just a heart burning for just dude, or hey, you can do this. You should do this. You should try this. So that's me, man, being the best version of myself and then seeing that light in somebody else and being like, yo, let's do it. That's how I started my business, was literally trying to make other people their own celebrity. I see what they do. They're successful. It's dude, how do I bring you to the masses? How do I bring whatever to the public because you have something and it needs to be shared? Yeah.
Was this something that you just kind of taught yourself? Where did this come from?
I think it's a few things. My parents, I grew up as an only child. They always kind of told me, you don't have to do the 9 to 5. They did 9 to 5, but they were like, hey, start your own thing, do whatever. And then, I had those parents that were always if I come up to them and say, I want to be a police officer, I want to be a barber, they'll say, you can do it. Go ahead, do it. And so that's why I always tell parents, speak life over your kids, speak life over your family, speak those positive things because you have no idea what that 4-year-old is hearing. You might think, oh, he's not listening or she's not listening. No, she is. Mm-hmm. And so being 5 or 6 years old in Dallas, and my parents might say, let's go on a ride, and we go in the neighborhood and we start driving through Jerry Jones' neighborhood or Mark Cuban's neighborhood, and them just saying, hey, you could do that too. And I think that set the tone for the rest of my life of just I can achieve big things, and it is possible, it is capable. And so one, starting with parenting. Number two, when I got to, Boise State football and all that, I didn't have the football career I wanted to have. I walked on here. I had some scholarship offers. Those got pulled. Walked on to Boise State. Didn't play that much. Was kind of on the bench for 4 or 5 years, but we're on some good teams. And so a lot of those setbacks I had in sports really set the trajectory for my servant leadership heart, to where, everybody has a great game. They go, hey, you scored. David, did you play? No, I didn't. But hey, it's for the team, right? So for doing that for 6 or 7 years, you really get humble. You really have a humility aspect to your life. And so it's being humble, and also the same thing going, but I know I'm somebody too. And so that collaboration is kind of what started that servant leader, helping others become the best version of themselves, as I escalate as well.
Yeah. And I love that you weren't like this big, huge star, and I am not one to like do a whole bunch of research on people, because I just want to know their side of it. And it's interesting for you to say like, hey, I was actually the person on the sidelines, and how you were building them up and still in that team aspect, but you didn't need to be the one doing the touchdowns.
Totally. And that's why I tell people a lot of times when they're at a place in their life where they can't get a breakthrough, or they're trying to find a way to get to the next level, or they're not feeling they're getting any opportunities, I always say the reason of that is because there might be a lack of servant leadership. There might be a lack of a place to where, or a lack of just being open to saying, maybe I need to serve more. Because if you're in that place of saying, hey, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? There is tons of space for that person. And as you continue to do that over and over again, how can I help you? How can I build you up? How can I whatever? You start to find opportunities open up for you. So sometimes you might see your opportunities and your vision and your purpose kind of drain out when you start thinking about, what about me? How can I? Instead of how can we? How can I help? And so I think changing that word from, instead of saying how can I, but change that to how can I help, or how can we, I think that opens up more doors for yourself and for your purpose and for your future and opportunities, all that jazz.
Yeah. And I think when you say that, you don't ever know who you're going to actually be able to help.
Totally.
Or in what fashion, or they're going to be able to see your gift and say, oh my gosh, I've actually been needing somebody like you.
Totally. And I think, anybody, for me, I grew up in the church, grew up in faith, all that. And so, I kind of take on this aspect of, the gifts I have, they're not mine, it's God given. And so when I get to flow in those, it's just awesome to do that. I'm not taking credit for myself. I just get the availability to, hey, I get to do this. I get to, hey, maybe I'm funny this day. Maybe I'm intellectual this day. That's just greater power flowing through me for this purpose. And I think when you take it from that perspective, it makes things fun, and you have a new outlook.
Well, and you're kind of taking this greater aspect of who you are and saying like, hey, I was given these gifts. Like, now let me use them. Now let me put them into my life how they should be used instead of wasting them. I mean, because there could have been so much of you sitting on the sidelines and being like, poor me, like this isn't fair. Why am I on the team and I'm not getting to play, and screw, like just so negative in that aspect.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point. I think the main thing I always try to tell people is, just you really got to find out what your purpose is. And, even though sometimes things can get tough, having that mindset of, if I continue to sulk about this, that's not going to get the job done, And so, yeah, maybe I didn't get to play for those 4 or 5 years. Maybe I didn't get to, achieve things I wanted to achieve. But however, hey, I grew up. I was in photo shoots as a kid. I did Barney as a kid. So I did whatever commercials. So I knew, even though this football thing's not working out, I still have something more to offer outside of this game. And so a lot of, I've got to interview, people like Charles Barkley and Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade. And, a lot of these guys have had great success after sports. A lot of athletes have trouble because their whole life they think it's NBA, NFL, or bust. And it's like, dude, even if you made it, you would play till 28, maybe. So what are you going to do after? And so you have to have that aspect of, okay, what is my purpose? What am I called here to do? And if the sports doesn't work out, I still have many other gifts to offer. Like, this is not just it, right? And so I think if you have that aspect, it helps you. It helps you a lot.
And I think that, goes out to all of the listeners is like, use those aspects as a stepping stone.
Mhm.
Like, it's not going to be your end all be all. You know, like you said, like careers within football is very limited.
Right.
How are you still going to be yourself
Mm-hmm.
once that ends? Because we know it's going to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think too, one thing that people need to focus on is, like I said, it's all about the servant leadership and the servant's heart. You know, you really need to take yourself out of it. And really, because sometimes people ask me, you know, I have these gifts, but what do I want to be? You know, I don't know how I can apply this and whatever. And I always like telling them, well, where do you see yourself in 10 years? You know, if everything worked out great, you can wave a magic wand, you could whatever, what would that be? And some might say, oh, maybe fashion in New York, or maybe a teacher or educator. Okay, well, whatever you say after that question, that's what you're called to do, you know? And so you just kind of start taking those steps towards that mark and just focus on, which is hard to do. What I'm about to say is hard to do, but just focus on that process. Enjoy the process. We used to call it in Boys State football, enjoy the suck.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we used to call it. Enjoy the suck. We also had another acronym called So What, Now What, which means you get hit in the face. Okay, so what? Now what am I going to do about it, right? Some people have the setback and they say, man, I wasted these 7 months. Okay, so what, now what? Okay, maybe I did. What am I going to do about it now? What am I going to do about it now, right? And so the great players, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all these guys, they're not just great because of their talents and the gifts, but they're great because they all make mistakes, but they know how to respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Woods and those guys know how to, if the first 6 holes were completely shitty and awful, they know how to make 7, 8, and 9 holes, the next 3 impeccable. And so that's hard to, you have to develop that. You have to compartmentalize, okay, that first half of the day was bad, but let's not make, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. the complete topic of that Monday. Mm-hmm. Okay, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. sucked. Okay, cool. What is 1 p.m. to 5 going to look like? It could be a whole new day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love that phrase. Like, what's going to happen? You get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
in your behaviors, in what you've learned, in your habits,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to decide how you're going to change that.
Right. And I tell people sometimes too, you can limit a lot of these pit stops and pitfalls. You can limit those if you get in your alignment sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's some people out there who are teachers, but they should be accountants. There's a lot of business coaches out there who should be real estate agents. There's a lot of athletes who really should just be a coach. And so there's a lot of people, you have the gift. Like right now, I have the gift to be an athletic director, but that ain't really my calling,
Mm-hmm.
right? My calling is what I'm doing now. And so you need to, it's good to get specific to know what is my alignment, what is my calling, what is my purpose. Then when you flow in that, things start to flow effortlessly. When I finally got into what I'm doing now, media, entertainment, public relations, marketing, in front of the camera, it was like just ideas were coming to me like I didn't even have to toil for them. Before I even got into this business, I had a bow tie and necktie licensing company, and we were getting college licensing. We were doing e-commerce, and it just seemed like every single day it just kept getting harder and harder, and it was a setback and a door closed, and we had 1 victory but 4 more losses. And I'm like, I know you have some tough times, but this is like ridiculous. But as soon as I got into my alignment, things started to kind of flow. And so you can limit some of those pitfalls and things like that if you get into your alignment and your true purpose sooner, instead of being somewhere where you're not supposed to be, right? And so that's how I've lived by, and that's how things have kind of flowed to where they are now.
Yeah. And I think you have to be curious too,
Mm-hmm.
figuring out yourself and saying like,
Yes.
gosh, there's a lot of resistance right now. How can I make this easier? What do I really love to do? And that does come
Mm-hmm.
more naturally to me versus like you're just hitting a wall every single
Mm-hmm.
freaking day.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that are like, nope, I got to do this because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
you can change that.
Yes.
And I remember having that same aspect when I was wanting to leave the agency I was working for. And I had applied for 5 to 6 different agencies. And it just, the door was closing every single time. And I was like, you know what? This isn't what is meant to be right now.
Right. Right.
we need to pivot
We need
and
to pivot.
change. And that aspect for people is okay to be curious.
It's okay to be curious, and that's one thing I get. I do things opposite of what the entrepreneurial culture does. You know, I don't. We live in a culture now where people say, "Well, if you called 100 people and they didn't pick up, call 1,000. If 1,000 didn't pick up, call 2,000." And I mean, maybe that is the case in some cases, and I know some people have built careers off of that boiler room approach. But I take more of the approach of, dude, if you get in your alignment, if you get where you're supposed to be, if you get quiet every morning, you do whatever you need to do, you meditate, you pray, you get in your word, you read your books, and you really kind of get in touch with your creator and what you're supposed to do in this life, you can have, an act of favor can supersede a lifetime of labor, which really means one alignment piece can have me skip over 8 levels than me trying to knock on every single door in every neighborhood in the Treasure Valley.
Yeah.
Right. And that's been how my career had, you saw those names, the Charles Barkley or Papa Roach or Coldplay and all that. That hasn't been through toil. It's been through alignment. Some people say guilt by association, but there's also success through alliances. And you can get to the top quicker through just knowing where I'm supposed to be at the right time, at the right place, with the right people. When you flow in that mindset and you're praying on that and you're talking about that, those type of opportunities will come. I mean, a lot of these names, these big sports names that I've got to interview, legendary people that even people on NBC and Sports have interviewed, these have come through one connection. It's a suit company who I'm spokesman for, Reveal Suits. They do logos for Blazers. They do the NBA and NFL suits. They made me their spokesman. That came through one connection. I didn't have to go through Charles Barkley's agent, then his secretary, then his person, then his press person, and then all of a sudden after 5 months, he said yes. No, it's through alignment that came. And so if people know quicker, like, let me get in my alignment first before I just get up and just start sending 89,000 emails. Hey, get quiet first and where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. How did you truly find that was your alignment? Because I think people, before you can find your alignment, it's like you do got to do these stepping stones and try to figure yourself out. And where are you going? And how do I actually get myself in alignment for that?
That's such a good question. For the longest time, I always knew that growing up as a kid, 4 or 5 years old, I was always in entertainment. I did commercials. Like I said, I was in Barney. I did JCPenney stuff. But then when I got 9 or 10, I was like, I want to play football. I want to play sports. And so they were like, do you want to go to this Dillard shoot for TV or do you want to go play flag football? I'm like, I want to go play flag football. But I always knew in the back of my mind, like, if sports doesn't work out, this is my calling. Now, fast forward, after I got done playing football, I came out of football. I was got promoted pretty quickly I was hosting some local events. Then Miss Idaho saw that and I did Miss Idaho. So I was hosting big events. But then I hit that wall of like, okay, I'm talented. I've grown a good brand. I've had a couple clips get featured in Good Morning America, but I don't know what my business is. I really don't know how I'm going to channel this talent. There's a lot of people listening right now that they have talent and they have gifts, but they really don't know how to package that into a brand. And I get that. And it's going to take a couple steps through praying and all that to find it. But for me, the breakthrough for me was my fiance's mom had asked me about 3 or 4 years ago, or 4 years ago, she said, can you help my business with some public relations stuff, like social media stuff? And I'm like, that's not really me. I've grown my own brand, but maybe I can help you. And as I was doing that, all of a sudden, I was like, put the camera here. Don't say that. You do this. Actually, no, you say this. Actually, whatever. And I was like, okay, whoa, like, where are all these gifts coming from? Like, and then after 3 or 4 months, I refer to a lot of business and I'm talking to other agents and other CEOs and I'm telling them how to do it. And then I'm like, the bell went off like, oh, like, not only can I be an on-camera personality, but then I can flow this into production and into media and marketing. So it took an opportunity for me to see that. So I guess my answer to your question is that if there's anybody out there listening that is trying to find their calling, first get in alignment. Number one, find what you're supposed to do, whether that's writing, fashion, business coaching. Get in that alignment. And then just continue. Number two, continue to flow in that every day that gift every day of like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be a coach, so let me try out real estate coaching. Let me try out that, and keep trying those things within that alignment, and opportunities will start to break loose, and you'll get that confinement as you keep going, right? But you won't get those answers if you know you're supposed to be a business coach, but you're still, being an educator, or you're still working at the hospital, wherever, right? And so there's going to be some friction there. But when you get in that alignment, you start on that journey, there's things right now in my career where, I knew I wanted to get in TV, and so I started flowing in those ideas. Maybe I should create a show, and all of a sudden, now I'm producing a TV show, a couple of network TV shows. I'm hosting it too, but that started with flowing in that alignment. I know I'm supposed to be here, but what does this look like? So when you get on that road, things start to flow to you on that road, and then things start to form.
Yeah. And it's cool to see that you knew this, and also the curiosity that you had of openness. Because when people are so close-minded to the opportunities or say, well, I'm not going to get paid for that, or how much is this? And it's like, maybe it's just an opportunity for you to be in that room with those people and get yourself to that next step.
And I tell people all the time, man, like, they should never feel intimidated. I hear a bunch of, I meet with different people all the time. They might say, well, I want to be a speaker, but I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not John Maxwell. But you know what? They're not you. Yep. Why do we have Elton John and we have Billy Joel. We have Alicia Keys and we have Beyonce. We have Kanye and we have Jay-Z. Even though there's one great real estate agent, the world and universe still needs you, your specific talent and gift. And so I think one thing I've noticed, and I've got to be around highly successful people, are they talented? Yeah. Are they gifted? Yeah. But there's really no difference between them and us or somebody else. The only difference is that they have confidence in themselves. They think extremely big. They actually fucking believe that, like, I am that guy. I am that girl. I know I can do this. And so that's the only difference. And so when you think like that, you attract like that.
Yeah.
Period. So if you're thinking teacups, you'll get teacups. If you're thinking dump truck loads of abundance, you'll get that. You get things according to your measure of your faith, right? It's a scripture in the Bible. It's according to your faith of what you get it, right? And so people need to understand and realize you might have the gift and talent to be a better speaker than a Sarah Blakely of Spanx or whatever like that. But do you have the mental capacity to actually know you can? And it's the know you can. I'm telling you, I've seen so many people at the highest levels where I go, don't get me wrong, he's cool, but he's like not that good. I mean, like, props to him. I respect his career. I respect her career. But it's nothing astronomical like, oh my God, this is Celine Dion. It's just like, no, they knew they had a gift, and they actually fucking believe I can do it at the highest level, and they did it.
Yeah. And I think especially, having the faith, people can either have faith or fear. And when you put even just an ounce into that fear, like you said, that's what you're going to get. You're going to have the roadblocks. You're going to have those self-doubts. When you start believing in yourself and the faith, and I'm here to attest, like, it's not easy. It is hard. There's so much personal growth. There's so much professional growth that you have to do within yourself to be the best you. But you can either lean on faith or fear.
Something's telling me right now, there's some people listening now that you have been pressing forward in faith. You have been pressing forward in your purpose, but you still kind of feel hindered. And the reason of that is it's your environment. And here's the thing. I get that struggle. Not everybody is called to do that big thing, and you might have that dream. You might have tried to do these things, but it's not really happening. But the reason it's not is because you got to seek out an environment, maybe new friends, maybe new people, maybe join a circle group to where when you say your ideas, they don't shut it down, they embrace it. They don't compress it, they invite it. And when you get in an environment around people who are not intimidated by your dreams or by your success, they say, yeah, man, you can do that. You can do that. So whoever's listening who has that, yeah, get into that environment of success with people and find new friends who can flow with you and not be intimidated by your dreams, but want to flow with you in that
and help you push it to the next level.
Right.
There is so much of pushing what, we can only believe in ourselves so much that we know we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have people surrounding us and you're like, no, you can do it. And how can I help you? Like you said at football, right? How can I help you? How can I actually help embrace what you're doing and push you to that next level? And it is 100% putting yourself in the room, break down your own barriers. Go and talk to somebody that you've never known. And I always tell listeners, like, if you see me out in public, say something. I promise you I will be more ecstatic than you, because I'm not this, I'm just a human.
Yeah.
We all are.
I'll tell you this, that's why, I always respect that. But like when you came up to me like that, I was like, I'm going on. You know what I mean? Because the crazy thing is that not many people ask me that. I've been on a lot of podcasts, but people who might have had a podcast they just started, I would definitely go on, but they just haven't asked.
Yeah.
Right? You get what you ask for, right? Ask and you shall receive. But when I went to the NBA Hall of Fame 2021, I was doing media content there, and there was a lot of NBA legends there, celebrities there, and I was just kind of supposed to get some video stuff, and that was the first year, and it was a lot of these, legends in there, and I was like, not kind of nervous, but I was like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna do my job, whatever, with this company. But that next year, which was last year, I came back there, and I was in a new mindset. I said, I have all these people here that people know and would die to try to get to, and am I gonna sit here and be scared of whatever? Like, and I walked in the weekend saying, I'm not leaving out this weekend without at least 9 or 10 interviews with these guys. I got all the big bucks and deers in a room. I'm not gonna take a shot. Like, we have a saying in football, in sports, at the college and NFL level, it's you better catch lightning in a bottle, which means if you got a good crop of talent and they're all freshmen and sophomores, you better damn well take advantage of these next 3 years, because you don't know when you'll have a Peyton Manning or like this on your team. You got a window. And so I was like, I got all these guys here, dude. No, I'm not leaving here without these 9 or 10 interviews, man. And sure enough, of course, those alone changed my brand and everything, just of who I'm associated with now and who I'm talking to now. So having that mindset of knowing, like, hey, how long am I going to sit here and being scared? How long am I going to be saying one day, okay, but, I'm 50 now, or I'm 60 now, or I'm 70 now. How long are we going to say one day, man? Like, go do it. So I always tell people, if you're trying to manifest something, don't say I'm going to. Don't say I want to. Don't say one day. Don't say, hey, I might in the future. Say, I am that. I have it now. Yep, I have my abundance now. I'm a multimillionaire right now. Yep, I have a very successful podcast right now. That goes from possessing it instead of pushing it out.
Yeah. How did you kind of learn manifesting in your life? I know that's a big part of it.
Yeah, with some deep questions. I love these, man.
You don't come on to Raw Thoughts without the deep questions.
Dude, I know. Out the gate. I would say, to be honest, and I'm going to go back to my environment. I think when you're in an environment of success, you're going to pick up some things, right? So I got to be Boise State. We won Fiesta Bowls. I was around highly successful high school collegiate teams. Like I said, I was in modeling as a kid and all that. So I got to be around, successful individuals, young and through football and all that. And so when you're around that, you start to pick up habits, right? And so there's habits to fail, and then it's habits to success, right? And so when you're around that constantly, that's, you start to kind of, okay, that's how he did that to get that success. Okay, he dropped 2 touchdown passes, but the next game, the championship game, so he was watching film for 4 hours. Like, oh, okay, like, and so you start to pick up these small things, and you hear people talk and you hear what they're saying and you hear how they're saying I have an ego mindset, and you're hearing how they're saying I'm not negative, I just say things positive. And when you are around that, so that's why some people, they might be saying I want to know how to manifest. Well, the couple steps on how to manifest would be, number one, get in an environment with people who are manifesting, like big things, big shit. That's number one. Number two, manifestation does not come from what you say. It comes from what you keep on saying, right? I can't just say one time, oh, I'm gonna have a breakthrough in my finances. No. It needs to say, I have my millions. I have my debt paid off. I have whatever like that. That's number two. Number three, changing your declarations instead of saying I'm going to one day to I have it. I have it now. That's I have my breakthrough now, right? And then number four, like I said, making sure your mind is agreeing with your spirit, right? Our spirit can give us an idea. Like you can get an idea right now and say, oh, I can create a tech company. But then your mind can come in right away and say, yeah, but the cost. Yeah, but the people.
Yep.
Yeah, but whatever. So your spirit is like an abundant thing, but it's that soul, that mind part where you have to kind of get it together. But once that spirit and mind are connected to where the spirit says, hey, you can start a tech company, and the mind says, I know we can, I know how to do it, then those forces are working together at once, and then you manifest.
That's awesome. Just this week, actually, I always forget her name, Megan. She is a motivational speaker here locally, and she teaches the yes and. And so just the phrase that you had said about the spirit and the mind. And she even warned us, like, once you learn it, you can't unlearn it.
Yes.
So here it is, right? You said, yeah, but. And then it's usually negative after that. But what if you said yes and?
Yes and.
Yes and this is how I'm going to do it.
That's so good. And I think, God, that's so good. Yes and this is how. I'm reading a book now called The Magic of Thinking Big. And, you know, that it's really has just changed a lot of like how I think, because really when you really start to think big, I swear when you really start to think big about everything, like stuff actually shifts. Like it is like a magic thing. Like when I don't care how bad of a situation you're in, if you really start thinking, instead of saying, I'm never going to get out of this, if you really start thinking, it's not that bad. Like I'll find a way. Like you'll be amazed on how within an hour, concepts, ideas, shifts in energy will start to come to you on ways on how to get out of that situation.
Right.
But when you're in that suppressed mindset, you're only thinking ways on how it's going to continue to dig yourself more in that grave, right? And so that magic, that thinking big concept is huge, to the point where you might not even be a good scientist. But in your mind, if you really say, I want to be one, I know I can be one, I know I will be a successful one, you might not know shit about chemistry or whatever, but with that mindset, within 4 or 5 years, you can be just as good as all of them or even better.
And it's totally figuring it out, right? Like not one person has this life book that we're supposed to, you know, like learn by. It is figuring it out of little things that you have said or somebody else from other podcasts that have said, and taking these tiny little tools and saying, how can I implement them in my life?
In your life.
How can I actually make my life where I am right now better, elevated? How do I think bigger? What, like, I'm thinking this right now. Like, I don't know if any of the other listeners are like, ooh, like, what am I thinking big on? What is my next step? Like, how do I get into the room with those people asking those questions?
Right.
You have to be self-aware to understanding, like, am I one of those closed-minded people?
Right.
Or do I want to think positively?
Totally. And it's like right now, if anybody has their own business or they're working for a company or whatever, like just have this thought, you know, if everything worked out with the magic wand, what would be one thing that could just take my year to the next level? Would it be a $2 million check? Would it be a deal with NBC? Would it be a promotion to vice president of your company? Would it be selling your company? Would it be buying a network? I don't know what it is, but that is where those big things start to hit, right? Because I have a mindset where I say tonight after this podcast, Beyonce or somebody can shoot me a text, hey, let's work together. I just think that way. Now, some people might laugh, but I can see Elon Musk hitting me up, right? And so anybody else listening is like, whatever that goal is, start putting your mind in that realm. And it's crazy. When you get around those guys, you can feel the energy of those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a realm of thought. It's a realm of thinking. It's a realm of flowing in. And you can't manifest those things if you're not thinking in those things realm, if that makes sense. And so I always say, you can't get a 15-foot blessing being in 2 feet of water. There's a scripture in Psalms that says, the men who do great works in the deep waters, they're the ones that see the mighty works of God. What that really means is that the ones who are out in deep fighting 25 feet of water, they're the ones that's going to come back to shore going, you have no idea the type of miracle that happened out there. It's because they're out there.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of people today who are, they're in their boat, they're in 3 feet of water, they have their paddles, and they're trying to call out to 25 feet saying, please bring this in. And it's like, dude, no. Take a step.
Yep.
Take a step.
Yeah. How do you combat people that try to limit you or try to bring negativity into your life, or say, it's almost like you through your years have kind of shedded the old you, and now you're making this new you. How do you combat that?
I think over time, anybody successful knows, you as well know, over time, once you know where you're supposed to go, the ones who are not on board with that, it's just, you don't have to confront them about it. It just, there's like a gravitational separation. And so if there is negative thoughts, I sometimes just, I'll correct it. How some people might say, well, every winter, we always get sick. I go, that's not true. You're going to be healthy this winter, right? Oh, well, that never happens for me. Well, actually, maybe it can, right? And so I like to correct when I'm in a presence when people might say those things, because your words are powerful, man. You got to watch what you say. You got to watch what you put into motion. You have opposing spiritual forces out there that are waiting for somebody to say those words so they can act on it to ruin your life. And so you have to stay in that realm of overcoming, defeating. I mean, I've been healed like that. My fiance's been healed like that, when you are in a mindset of saying, hey, no, but I'm healed. I have a breakthrough, right? And even though it might be tough in that moment, you are, and I'm not saying you're in denial of your circumstances, okay? I'm not saying, I'm not sick and my nose is running.
Right.
No, but what I am saying is staying in a mindset of ignoring it, not letting that dictate the rest of my week. Okay, yeah, it is what it is, but I'm healed. I'm coming out of this. I'm blessed. I'm financially free. I'm debt free. We're going to find a way. And so when you're in that energy like that, you have a better opportunity of coming out of what you're in instead of just whatever. So that's kind of how I've negated those things. I either correct it. My fiance knows, my friends know, I don't do any negativity, because I know how powerful it is. And I know how, powerful that once you start bringing those things in, you start to see your environment shift like that. Right. And so, most people who might have a thing, if it's in sports or whatever, I've seen athletes, be in a locker room and they might say, I'm kind of tight, man. I hope I don't have any really injuries. I hope I don't really whatever. I hope I don't whatever. And then an hour later, they tear their ACL. And so this is serious shit, man. I mean, you can't put those things out there, because you start to open doors to things.
Right.
So why not open doors to things of greatness?
Right.
And long life and breakthroughs and miraculous things, right?
Right. What could you tell your younger self that, like, you now know it now, and like maybe that smaller mind back then, you could tell them?
Well, one thing would be, I wish I could get deep. I wish I would have gotten deeper into my word and my spiritual stuff sooner, which means I wish I would have gotten, I read my word every morning. I go to church and stuff like that, but it's a daily thing for me. I get answers every day while I'm praying and all that. And so I wish I would have got in that flow earlier and been more serious about that, instead of worried about the next, whiskey, Coke, or the next skirt, or, whatever. And so I think that would be one thing I would say is that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I always say, I just say what I'm doing now, but at the highest level, right? So, I'm, producing a couple network TV shows. I'm hosting some shows, my media production company, and we're doing, hosting a lot of different events and spokesman for companies and stuff like that, interviewing big names and celebrities. So it's just this, but at the highest level. So I always say things like, I make a joke saying, the Black Bob Hope or the Black Ryan Seacrest, right? But that is ultimate goal. I see what somebody like a Ryan Seacrest has done to where he is a mainstream personality, but within that, he's channeled into production companies, into businesses and stuff like that. And Bob Hope and other guys like that who have just used their celebrity or platform of their talented gift of what they have on stage or on camera, kind of like what I have, but just at the highest level, using that to inspire, create production companies, nonprofits. So that would be the ultimate goal, and I think, and we're on our way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to ask, how in the hell do you remember all these people's names?
Right.
Like, you just watching some of the videos, just the information you have, and that is such a gift that you have that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I love just interviewing random people,
Right.
almost, because I'm like, I don't have to do that research.
To be honest with you, over the last, I would say 2 years, me staying in my word and meditating and things like that, I have developed a photographic memory, which I didn't have as a kid. But all of a sudden, as like I do my meditation, I'm reading and things like that, I just remember things randomly that are just like that specific, that time stamp, all that. And it also goes back to your alignment. When it comes to media, entertainment, marketing, I can remember, 9 shoots ago what we said 20 seconds in because I'm in my calling, right? So I guarantee you somebody else who is supposed to be an incredible educator is the same with their students, right? And so I'm just in my calling, and so I can, we can do a commercial and I can produce it and I automatically know, oh, this has this vibe. We got to do, this Sheryl Crow song, 1996. It just comes like that because it's my gift. And so anybody's going to kind of have those similar things of retaining their information if they're in their gift. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we have a thing in America that says you can be who you want to be. Mm-hmm. You can do whatever you want to do. You can achieve an American dream. And to an extent, that's true, but not really. That's not true because you need to do what God's calling you to do, or you need to do what you're called to do, because wherever you're called to be, that's where all your abundance is, all your memory is, all your gifts are, all the incredible partnerships you could ever imagine opportunities if you're in where you're supposed to be at, right? So that's why every day I'm always going, where am I supposed to be today? Yeah. Who am I supposed to be aligned with? And when you get in that flow, you end up things happen with ease because you're where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And I love what you talked about in the beginning of this is also enjoying that process. Mm-hmm. Because so many people nowadays want these achievements and to check the boxes off of like, oh, I had this goal and I accomplished it and I checked the box and now I'm on to my next goal. Mm-hmm. Instead of truly enjoying that process.
Yes.
And it's within that process and that journey that you are evolving and you're changing and your mindset is getting bigger and your, people are around you. Like, that's the beautiful part.
I think I'm an old soul. I'm 28 years old, but I watch Johnny Carson every night. Okay, I'm watching old school Frank Sinatra, right? I just Michael Douglas, Jack Nicholson, right? So I'm an old soul, and so the one thing that this day and age has an issue with that I kind of envy what the old school had is that, there was no social media and stuff back then and all that. So you had people who were 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, whatever age they are, and they're on their own path. There's no really pressure from outside sources. They go read the newspaper, they go eat breakfast, and, they say, hey, I'm going to try this out. And they focus on that process and all that. Now in this day and age, you have and props to these people, but you have somebody who says, hey, I'm 23 years old and I made $225,000 in a month. And so now you have somebody else who's going to college feel like shit because they're like, but my first job paid me $30,000. I just graduated and now they're depressed and now they're getting suicidal or anxiety. And it's like, dude, no, you're okay.
Yeah.
Focus on you, man. And so that's the one con of social media is,
which is a huge con.
It's a huge con, dude, because now people are trying to speed up their process and all that to where you should just be saying, hey, man, I'm on my own path. I'm on my own purpose. Let me just focus on me and where God's calling me and what I'm supposed to be doing. And when you do that, you're in a better place of saying, oh my God, like how did he get that gig and I haven't got that yet? It's like, but y'all on different paths.
Yeah.
Don't judge somebody else's chapter 6, and you're on chapter 2.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
And I think it is, like you've said before, being okay with yourself, like understanding yourself and that faith of like, you know what, you may be in a really dark place right now, but you could literally turn that page.
Yes.
And that breakthrough is there.
Yes.
But you have to keep on going or you wouldn't be at that breakthrough.
Yes.
And I think, for the people like the social media, it's that negativity. And I've said it before, like turn that negativity off. You are the one in charge and you are the only one putting these boundaries on your life.
I have had multiple times where I've seen the social media con at work in my life where I was interviewing Isaiah Thomas. He's a Detroit Pistons legend, class act guy. And I was editing his clip. And after I got done, I was reading my Bible and reading my word. And I opened my phone. And so I just I start scrolling. And so I see somebody doing a motivational thing. Then I see somebody doing whatever. And then after 4 or 5 minutes, when I came back to like reading again, I had 3 things on my mind. Like, should I be speaking more? That was one thing to say. Should I be speaking more? What I mean, like, I know I do this, but I don't really speak that more. Some other voice, I don't know why I haven't like tried to start like my own course. How come I don't have my own course? Because like I'm a public speaker. Like, should I do a course? And it hit me going, whoa! Like, I was just in an alignment and a flow where I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be going, and then all of a sudden now I'm thinking about a course, speaking, coaching, and I'm like, whoa, dude, that's the con of that thing. It's a huge pro for people's business, for their brand. But dude, it's like to a point now where it's like, hey man, get on there, post what you need to post, interact with some people, look at some cool content that you enjoy, and then get off. Right? And so that's when it really hit me, when I was like, wow, that social thing, I don't get how the people are getting clear revelations about their purpose and destiny who are on that thing 3 to 4 hours a day. Now, maybe it's your work.
Right.
We both work in social media, which we get.
100%.
But I'm talking about the other people where it's just like, I'm just on that thing. It's like, dude, get off that thing and meditate or pray.
For real.
Find out what you need to do.
Yeah. Go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
Like I think people that are just scrolling mindlessly are trying to find that quick and easy pill to like, what's everybody else doing and what do I need to do? And it's like, actually, you need to get off of that and rest your mind a little bit.
Totally, dude.
And like go for a walk and go out and be in nature and go and talk to people again. Like it just amazes me of how many people are so afraid to just have a conversation in public.
Right. Well, back in the day, if the 80s, 70s, if you say, hey, if it's Tuesday, if we say, hey, Friday night, we're all going to meet at the pub, we're going to have a drink, 6:30. I don't need to send out, they didn't need to send out a Facebook post, a bulletin on Pinterest, nothing. At 6:30, everybody showed up, right? It was conversational. If you wanted to date a girl, you had to call the parents.
Yep.
Hey, Mr. Johnson or Miss So-and-so, I want to take your daughter out. Hey, sure, whatever she be. Conversational, whatever. Now, you can hide behind, I see a profile pic, man, she look good, man, he look good. Yo, what you doing? And so there's no connection, whatever.
Yep.
And so, and like I said, there's great pros to social media.
Right.
Huge pros. I encourage a lot of my people to do more on social media.
Right.
All that. But in everything, pros and cons.
Yeah. And I think it's, getting back to the true connections of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being able to have the conversations and truly check in with people and see what's happening and ask for that help. And how can we, you know, like build each other up? Like when you go into these big rooms, you know, of people with these big mindsets, they're not sitting there scrolling on their phones.
Right.
They're having conversations.
They're having conversation. They're one-on-one. They're getting done. No, I agree.
And then that's why I'm like, okay, I'll follow up with an email because I will forget this.
Right.
But please put it in my calendar because I will forget it if it's not in there.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, DMac, it's been such a pleasure getting to just have a conversation with you, learn more about what's happening in your world and who you are.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
Yeah. So if you guys just Google the voice of Boise, that's me. So all my profiles will pop up. Google. Instagram is at DMAC_1. And so we're always posting just sports content on there, man, and real estate content, productions. I released an interview with Dirk Nowitzki a couple of days ago. He just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and we've had LeBron, Coldplay, all these guys, and so just go check us out, and we're doing some cool things, and I can't wait to see more with what you're going to be doing. Yeah. You're going to be speaking out and in Dallas, and thanks for having this platform as well too.
Absolutely.
And I just think. I'm glad I got to come on, but I just think you are such an inspiration. We didn't get to talk more enough about it, but you're an inspiration for the people that might, who are in their careers, in it, deep in it, but still have something to say, hey, I want to do this. I mean, so for you now to start podcasts and social media team and to be speaking, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You didn't have to do it. But you did. And so all it takes is a choice. Everybody listening, all it takes is a choice to do it. And if you do, it'll work out. And you know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it so much. And, it also gives me that faith to continue to, if I see somebody, like, not be afraid and go and ask them.
Most definitely.
And having that validation of, whoa, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like,
right.
I am feeling in my alignment of where I'm supposed to be, and there's still a lot of things to figure out, and what's happening in life, but that's life.
Right.
That is the joy of the process in learning that. And like, I wouldn't be able to be getting into my alignment if I didn't have all of those things that weren't me, but because they are still me. I did them for a reason. I got into it for a reason. I was supposed to be there at that perfect time in all of these situations, But that also has got me to where I am now and where I want to head.
And it's happening.
It is happening.
When's the thing in Dallas?
May 25th.
Let's go, man.
Yeah. And then the day after. So this is how I know, like, the world is working out for me. So originally it was supposed to be May 26th. And they needed to switch it because that's President's Day weekend, whatever holiday weekend that is. I'm so terrible. Anyways, they needed to switch it to a date earlier. So I was like, yeah, totally fine. I haven't booked my flights, hotel, none of that. So I was like, totally fine. Then I got another speaking gig for May 26th. That's virtual. So I will be getting to talk with a tech company from New York virtually while I'm in Texas the day after my speech with first responders. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is amazing.
But it goes back to what we talked about today. Yeah. You're in your alignment.
Yeah.
Things working out.
Yeah.
Things working out.
Yeah.
Now, if you were trying to start an accounting software or whatever it is, and hey, no offense to the accountants. I brought up a lot of accounting things there. No offense to the accountants. But if you were just somewhere else, it would have been some hindrances and some whatever. But look at that. You have the gift to speak. God gave you that gift. And now look, you couldn't do 26. Another one came, pushed back 24th. Everything's good.
Yep. So I'm excited. Well, I appreciate it so much. Guess you guys can go find out all of his information. I'll have it all in the show notes. It's been such a pleasure. I feel so blessed to be able to have you on my podcast. Absolutely, and I just want to encourage any listener out there to take the challenge and, like, go and talk to somebody that you would not normally go talk to. Go invite yourself, go put yourself in the rooms that you need to expand your mindset. Like, you are the one to make the change. So Have a wonderful day. Listen to all of the other episodes, and we will see you guys later. Bye. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Raw Thoughts Podcast. I'd appreciate it if you could follow, like, subscribe, and share with anybody that you think would be interested in this. You can also head over to my website at rawthoughtspodcast.com and see any other guests that have been on the episodes. You could also go over to Instagram and follow at rawthoughts.podcast. I would really appreciate it, and always send me a message if you're interested in being a guest or any feedback.